Welcome back to another episode of Blue Review. He is Clinton Yates and I'm Parker Bell. Again, Greg is on vacation, so we are running the show right now. As always, the Blue Review is presented by Los Angeles International Airport. Hire LAX creates life-changing career opportunities for Los Angeles residents. For more information, guys, check out Hire LAX on Eventbrite. Clinton Yates, Dodgers get the win yesterday. They destroy the last place team, 10-1. I know you wanted to talk about this game and who might be the most valuable player on this team. So by all means, take it away.
Yeah, here's the thing is that obviously getting a win against the A's is huge. Getting an early lead was big because it allowed Tony Gonsolin to be able to pitch with a little bit less stress in general. And considering he very rarely goes above 5, that was important. But, it's occurred to me now that with Ronnie Acuna doing what he does in Atlanta, probably the front runner in the NL for the MVP. But the two guys behind him are both Mookie and Freddie. And I was thinking to myself, if you had to pick one, who would you pick? And I don't necessarily know that I have a major answer here. Now, the thing is this: Freddie is leading in every category that matters for the most part, except for homers. And oftentimes homers become the thing that, people look at as far as, what the most important thing is. But he's also scored more runs, which if you know me, you know that is my number one indication of the best player on the team is the player who scores the most runs. This sounds kind of obvious, but at the same time, it's very difficult for some people to grasp that concept. But I know the leadoff homers have a sort of psychological value that you cannot replace in Mookie Betts, but I actually think Freddie Freeman is the most valuable player on this team. And it's close, but I do think I'll give the edge to number 5.
Yeah. I mean, when you say it's close, the run for this team in terms of most valuable player is like literally point 0.1 if you're talking wins above replacement.
Okay.
So Freeman at a 5 and Mookie at a 4.9. I mean, it's also the defensive metrics. Being able to see Mookie play almost, he's playing everywhere on the field this year,
Right.
kind of putting the Dodgers on his back in terms of players going down or players in slumps. And Mookie's like, you know what? I got you. But I think I'm going to have to lean with you on this one. Freddie, in terms of what he does on the offensive side, is just unmatched almost in the league. Like you said, only Ronald
Right.
is
Right.
is is doing his thing over there in Atlanta. So
Now let me jump in there. The defensive part to me though is the wild card, because if you're thinking about the concept of value, a guy who can play 2-3 positions definitively has more value, at least in this team, I think, than a guy who only plays 1 or potentially 2 if you throw in the DH. So that's where it's difficult. It's sort of one of those things where it's like the national assumption for what MVP is different than what maybe even the team MVP would be. In this case, Mookie is probably the team MVP, whilst Freddie might actually be the National League MVP. I understand this all sounds very weird, but I think your point about defensive metrics is correct. The fact that Mookie's been able to stay in the lineup because he can play anywhere on the field makes him extremely valuable to this particular team. It's something I'm going to be thinking about for pretty much the rest of the season, because again, this is the only way they're going to win games at this point. They have not traded for anybody at the deadline. Starting pitching does not appear to be improving anywhere anytime soon. So they're going to have to knock in a lot of runs, and those two guys are the main engines.
okay, so I want to present you with this question then, because
Sure.
you did bring up pitching. Other than Kirsch, when hopefully he'll be back soon, who's the MVP in your eyes of that rotation? I mean, because it has been tough and everybody's been, up and down this year. Who's that second guy, that top second guy?
I don't know that I have an answer to that. I mean, Bobby Miller's been pretty good, but at the same time, I don't want to. I think it's a little bit unfair to look at rookies in that regard. I'll tell you who's not is Urias. Now, he's in fact been, this has been the most unfortunate part about all of this, is that injuries are one thing, but performance is another. And he was the guy we were looking at to be potentially, well, never mind Dustin May, that's another story. But Urias was the guy that we, as people watching the Dodgers, were looking at to be the guy, to be that number 2. He had to be in order for this to be considered a consistently winning team. And I almost feel bad for this guy because it's the contract year, very popular player. He's been kind of marginalized. So I don't have a number 2 right now, but I'll tell you who should have been. It was Urias. And unfortunately, that hasn't been the case.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's tough to see, especially in a contract year,
Yeah.
when those numbers slip. But I mean, we still got a lot of game left, a lot of time left in the year. They
Yep.
got the Padres coming up next. How do you see that series going?
That's a big series. If for no other reason than you're coming off what is arguably, I'm just going to assume they're going to sweep, with the A's, but you're coming off one of your better offensive series. You could effectively bury the Padres. We're getting late enough in the season where if you manage to get a sweep out of that, you've put enough distance between them. Not that they're close, but you can extend the gap on a team that, again, I don't know. I read something the other day that the Padres were considering shopping, Juan Soto and all sorts of other people. The identity of that franchise right now is a complete disaster. It's almost as bad as the Mets, just over there on the West Coast. So I would expect them to get at least, what do they got, 3 against the Pods?
They're gonna have 4-game series against the
Got 4.
Padres.
Okay, that's right. Yeah. Okay. So, if you get 3 out of 4 there, you're in very good shape. If you split, that's fine. I mean, I just don't think that I don't think the Padres have it this year. And I think that they know that too, which is really, really weird because they have such a talented squad.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, they're going against Snell, I think, game 3, and that was another name that was like, hey, maybe we're going to shop him,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden they decided not to sell. Very weird over there in San Diego, but here in LA, things are kind of going smooth, even though they didn't make trades. So that'll do it for the Blue Review. Again, this is Parker Bell alongside Clinton Yates. As always, we're presented by LAX, and we'll see you next time.
See you tomorrow.